Welcome to City and State TV. My name is Ashley Hopful. I'm City and State's Albany reporter. With me is Diane Oakley. She's the Executive Director of the National Institute of Retirement Security.
That's right.
There we go. Thank you for joining us.
Happy to be here.
So why are we here today? What's the significance of AARP's high anxiety report?
You know, I think what the high anxiety report does is it tells us some things we know and it reinforces that. You know, I mean, one of the key things is people are concerned that they don't have enough money when they retire. And when we look at the data numbers and we know that, you know, of Americans who are 10 years away from retirement, the median savings, so that's the 50th household in the mix of everything, has only $12,000 saved for retirement, and they're 10 years away. How do we find ways to improve that so more people get to that age and get to retirement with resources that can help them really have a life that's going to be a life in dignity and not just relying on Social Security when they retire?
Right. So how do you think a state-facilitated program could help with this problem?
Well, I think one of the key barriers right now is a lot of employees, in fact here in New York State, 3.6 million New Yorkers don't have access to a retirement savings at work. And one of the key things about saving for retirement is we also know from the survey that AARP did that most people found at the end of the month or the end of their paycheck they didn't have money to save. So the way you have to save for retirement is you got to put at least something away before you get your paycheck, and that means using payroll deduction. That's a real powerful tool, and it's something that this bill or the proposal that AARP is talking about in Work and Save, of having some minimum amount voluntarily deducted from individuals' paychecks. They can always opt out if they don't want it, but there'll be a place for the money to go, to be invested and accumulate over their working career, so when they retire, they might have a nest egg that really could help support them and do the things that they want to do, as opposed to be sitting around the dining room table arguing with their spouse of whether we get something for our grandkids or do we have to just pay for our medicine this month.
Right. I know the report discusses how people are apt not to seek out retirement plans if it's not offered through their job. And there's, I can't remember the statistic. How would this help that? How would it change kind of the system or culture of people not thinking about this sooner?
Well, I mean, saving for retirement would be automatic for every working New Yorker. And that would be a big change. And so that means everybody would get at least some amount of money saved for retirement. We know a lot of people don't have any savings at all. In fact, even people close to retirement, in that group of people between ages 55 to 64, 1/3 of them have nothing saved. And how do we change that character? By having money come out. You'll see a statement every year. You'll get a sense of how that money accumulates and grows, and you'll start to see, your future looking a lot brighter.
Mm-hmm. And I know there's concern among the lower income communities about being able to save. I mean, people saying, I can barely afford groceries. How am I supposed to put aside for retirement?
Yeah, that's, clearly the middle class and the lower class have been totally squeezed over the last 30 years in the economy, and they do feel a burden. Yet it's very interesting, when we did a survey of public opinion, we asked individuals, what could you do to help address the retirement savings crisis? And one of the options we gave them, we said, could you save anywhere between 1% to 4% of your pay? And what was really interesting for households who were earning under $35,000, 6 out of 10 of those households said that they could do that. So I think there is an ability for people to do that. The type of plan being suggested here would be an opportunity to save for everybody, but you'd always have the flexibility to opt out. So if you chose not to do it, you wouldn't have to, but you'd have it there and you'd have it be available, and you could put that 1% to 4% away, like people say they might be able to do.
Right. And what kind of potential economic impact could more people saving for retirement have in the future?
Well, the biggest issue I think would be, you're going to have savings for states and the federal government. We do an analysis that looks at what happens when people get pension benefits. And we know when people get a benefit in a DB pension, for example, that saves the federal government $8 billion in aid to low-income households, either for food or heating or housing assistance. It doesn't even look yet at the Medicaid savings potentially. So, when we look at the state of New York and we look at some things in the budget coming out where they're realizing they have to do more for seniors because more and more seniors are feeling burdened by the cost, this is a way of asking and having the workers start to do some of that for themselves as well.
And how are the states who have already started to implement a program like this, how is that being received in the states?
I think it's being received really positively. I've done a lot of work a little bit out in California. I think they're still studying it. Illinois has obviously made a commitment to move ahead and offer a plan in the next year or so. So I think we're seeing some interest. What we've also seen in Americans is Americans really want help. They know they're not having a secure future. They want help from policymakers, and I think this type of proposal is a great first step to get us there.
And how do you think this will be received in New York going forward?
I grew up in New York and had my first job here, and I think, again, somebody convinced me to save. This will do the same thing that my colleague who came next to me and said, you need to get in the 401k plan. This will be a way of saying, you're going to be in the 401k plan, or you're going to be in the IRA plan, and you'll have that. So that, I think, is the best thing, and I think that hopefully that will be received really positively.
Thank you very much for joining us today.
You're welcome. Thanks for being here, Ashley.